Steve Jobs was actually still alive and there when I joined, which is
Did
really
you
cool.
did you ever talk to Steve Jobs or?
Fortunately, no.
Okay, you're too low level. Oh shit! I thought you were an actor. I thought we were about to have a fun conversation about Hollywood today. No, sorry, brother. Come on. I'm so sorry. Dude, you've had a lot of experiences. I mean, Facebook, Apple, Opendoor, kind of different cultures, different environments.
I felt like my growth curve was plateauing at Facebook.
Come on, Matt, spill the tea. Let's go.
I think one thing that's interesting to start with is that like the advice is very situation dependent. So for example, coming from Facebook to Opendoor, I felt like, oh, we need to do a lot of things the Facebook way because that's what I knew and what I thought was right.
I showed up to your home. I banged down on the door. I held a gun to your head. I said, "You better join the company." Is that what happened? Oh, I love that.
Have you got a savage rejection?
No.
This is
I
always like, oh, well,
I
now the future.
savagely reject. I did that, so no one knows it. Today, Matt, Lanter and I had an amazing conversation. We talked about procreating. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about raising money. We talked about his new job at Nucleus Genomics as president. Matt brings a huge range of experience. He was the co-founder of OpenStore, chief of staff to Keith Raboy, and he was even early at both Apple and Facebook. If there's any conversation we've done so far, I would tune into this one, especially if you're a little bit at the frontier of spirituality and science. Enjoy. We have a very, very special guest today. In fact, they're from Hollywood. Oh, shit. I think we have the wrong Matt Lanter. Oh, God. You're the tech guy?
I know, you got the wrong one.
Oh,
you
you're
should get the actor here.
Wait. I thought you were an actor. I thought we were about to have a fun conversation about Hollywood today, no?
Well, I mean, we can still talk about it, but I'll just make some stuff up.
Okay. Well, I guess this guy, is the co-founder of OpenStore,
Yeah.
right? And now you're at a little startup called Nucleus Genomics or something. What are you doing?
Yeah, Nucleus, I think.
Okay, cool. Wow, this is the real deal. So we have Matt Lanter here, the president of Nucleus, former co-founder of OpenStore. Matt and I decided to sit down today and do a little podcast, talk about, why he joined Nucleus, amongst many, many other different topics of startups, tech, genomics, and of course, now being president. So Matt, I got a couple questions for you. The first is sort of the obvious, right? You went from Shopify to genomics. It's kind of a 180-degree split. What the hell are you thinking?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've always been interested in like health and wellness. I remember there was this device called Zeo as a kid that basically tracked your sleep. It was like the first sleep tracker, probably 10 years ahead of the game of like Oura and 8 Sleep and others. And in fact, that was actually what I connected with Keith Raboy about, who I was his chief of staff at Founders Fund. When he found out I had a Zeo, he also had one too, and like had never met anyone who was like so obsessed with sleep tracking. So I've always been interested in like health and wellness and how you can use technology to improve your life. So with Nucleus, really love the mission of accessing genomic data to help you like live a better life for yourself, but also for like your kids and family planning. So that's really what drew me to Nucleus. With OpenStore, it was kind of a natural evolution of Opendoor, which both Keith and I were involved with as well. Both like help provide liquidity to like your biggest asset, whether for Opendoor it's your house or OpenStore it's your Shopify store, e-commerce. For many people, that's the biggest asset in their life. So providing them liquidity for that. But yeah, really excited with the health and wellness space.
Okay, so basically Keith was like, I found another, maniac, and he was like, okay, give me my chief of staff. But even before then, before Founders Fund, you went to Washington University in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
So how did you go from there, stumbling into the startup world in the first place?
Yeah, well, my first job out of college was at Apple, so that kind of brought me to the Bay Area. So
what year is this?
2011 or so.
2011. So you're at 2011 Apple technology.
Steve Jobs was actually still alive and there when I joined, which is
Did
really
you
cool.
Did you ever talk to Steve Jobs or?
Unfortunately, no. But
Okay, you're too low level.
well, yeah,
Something like that. Okay.
But I'm sure he was excited when I joined.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Yeah. But so I mean, Apple brought me out to like the Bay Area, bringing kind of the startup ethos, which I really enjoyed. Loved like seeing the inside of Apple, seeing like how they built products, how they think about like the integration between software and hardware. Also being like very design focused of thinking about like what's the ideal user experience and how can we work back and deliver a magical experience. So loved working there.
On that point, what's like a specific anecdote you have where Apple kind of shaped your career perspective to some extent, right? What is something you learned from Apple that you're like, okay, I think about this everywhere I go?
Probably around craft of just being very focused on the craft of what you're building and like the high quality, even when people aren't looking. So Apple has this classic example they talk about sometimes, but like even the packaging, like the amount of effort that goes into the unboxing experience and the packaging is something they really focus on, even though most people open the box and throw it away.
Yeah. So then you take that to eventually OpenStore, you take that to Nucleus. Is that how you view it?
Yeah, exactly. Just, I mean, like you look at Nucleus's product, for example, you can just like see the craft, like on the website. Everything's like very well designed, even things that people may not see on a day-to-day basis, but it just shows how much like we're thinking about the product and delivering great experience.
Okay, so then you go to Apple, then what? What happened next?
So then I kind of wanted to go more. Apple, I mean, was a big company at the time, probably over 100,000 people. So wanted to get more into like the faster paced startup world. So went to Facebook. This was 2013.
Wow, Facebook 2013. So talking about OG Facebook, right? Would you characterize it that way?
I mean,
before Meta, before,
totally.
before Cambridge Analytica, probably, before all that.
Well, before all this.
All that, right? Yeah.
Very much like the optimistic days of technology too.
Oh, wow. So this is like kind of Obama years approximately, right?
Yeah. It was really exciting days. Like, I mean, Facebook had just IPO'd. They were navigating the mobile transition, which obviously worked out really well for Facebook. But at the time, it was like this big uncertainty. Can Facebook move from a desktop application to mobile? So it was a really exciting time to join. I mean, there's probably 3,000 employees, 1,000 engineers, like fairly small for a tech company. But like loved like learning there, like kind of the startup ethos of the Silicon Valley and getting into a fast-paced place.
And then so from Facebook, did you learn like let's ship? Because that always struck me as like Facebook's ethos, just like, move fast and break things. To me, I kind of hear let's ship as fast as humanly possible. Is that your takeaway?
Yeah, it's a similar takeaway to that. One was around like empowering everyone on the team. So at Facebook, you had a ton of ownership. Like as an engineer, you could come up with an idea, you could just like build it, you could talk to your coworkers, rally a team around it. In a way that like most companies, like let's say Apple, like you didn't see that as much more like top down, like here's what we're building. But Facebook was really cool because you could just like have an idea and build it, which I think was really empowering.
And so you were at this point an engineer at Facebook, or you're an engineering manager or something?
I was like half engineer, half PM. So both engineering, but also like leading a team of engineers.
Were you actually shipping code?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were shipping code, and you also led the team. So it's kind of like, was that Facebook's ethos that you should both lead the team as well as be shipping?
Yeah, and Facebook also very much had an ethos of kind of blending like product and engineering, of very much believing that like the best engineers are also very concerned about the product side of things, of like what they're building, what the user experience is like.
Facebook or Apple? Which one you liked more better?
Love the culture working at Facebook.
And why? What specifically?
Mostly everything we talked about, just like really empowering people. Also just very much a move fast environment like you talked about. Like inherently Facebook, like when I was there, we'd ship weekly. When I left, they would actually ship like daily, the website, which is like really impressive. And you compare that to Apple that would basically ship like a box software, and now it's like a download, but every year, like you get a new iOS update every year. So it's just like a much slower pace of learning compared to Facebook, where like every day you're shipping, you're learning, you're testing, you're seeing like what people want and what resonates.
How long were you there for? 2 years?
No, Facebook like 3.5 years.
Okay, so quite a bit of time. And then you said, what was next?
Well, I think one thing throughout my career and for others is I felt like my growth curve was plateauing at Facebook. So like learned a ton. Like when I first joined, learned an absolute ton. But then after being there for like 3 years, it was just plateauing. So that's what really drew me to what was next, which was Opendoor, founded by Keith.
And so did you know Keith at this time? Right, and just so everyone knows, Keith obviously was at Founders Fund when FF led Nucleus' seed round. So we both, I think, met obviously Keith independently in different contexts. But this time when you joined Opendoor, did you know Keith, and did Keith kind of recruit you, or what happened exactly?
Yeah, well, I actually knew a few of the co-founders and early employees. So I knew Keith. I also knew JD, one of the other co-founders, who went to WashU together. He'd actually tried to recruit me to join him at Adapar instead of Apple out of college, which would have been fun, but ended up working together anyway, so that was really fun. Also, I knew one of the early designers from WashU. But so knew a lot of the team and like had been heard about the ideas from even the early days. So I always thought like, oh, this is kind of cool. So as I was leaving Facebook and looking at other opportunities, I was like looking around, but then I was like, oh, I've like always like loved the idea of Opendoor. So I was like really excited to go there and kind of help that company grow as well.
Okay, so you go to Opendoor as what exactly?
Started out as an engineer, but then came up with an idea to like build a mobile app to make it easy to tour around any of our homes with a click of a button. So actually, I built a team around that, which is really cool, and then ended up managing a lot of the consumer side of things.
What sort of during these, kind of couple years that in Silicon Valley, what's the kind of best and worst piece of advice you think you got? Because you've had a lot of experiences. I mean, Facebook, Apple, Opendoor, right? Kind of different cultures, different environments. What's the time someone told you something you said, you know what, that is so on point? And what's the time where you said, this person's a freaking stupid as hell?
I think one thing that's interesting to start with is that like the advice is very situation dependent. So for example, coming from Facebook to Opendoor, I felt like, oh, we need to do a lot of things the Facebook way because that's what I knew and what I thought was right. But then I quickly realized at Opendoor, like, or at any company, like you do things a certain way potentially because of your culture. So there's not always like one right piece of advice. One thing I very much believe in though, which came from Keith, is this concept of starting a company as like directing a movie. So you want a vision of here's the movie I want to produce. So with Opendoor is like, I want to make it easy to buy and sell a house in a click of a button. Originally, actually, even just sell a house and click of a button. And then how can I make that experience magical? That is kind of controversial because it goes against like the lean startup model. And the lean startup model is like ship something very light, test out, iterate, see how it goes, raise a little capital. I think that can work in some cases, but I think to build like truly generational, life-changing companies like Opendoor or others, you need to be willing to like take big bets with capital, with having a strong vision, and potentially taking time to build those things out as well.
So yeah, there's always this fundamental question on like, you can see today with these massive startups like OpenAI raising huge amounts of money, right? And it's almost, it's like there was an old tweet back in the day. I think actually Sam Altman posted it. It was about, he said, well, I really evaluate the kind of YC model. And it turns out that you can actually potentially sometimes raise, billions of dollars for moonshot projects, right? So, I think I always tend to think that when there's like two models that are very different, they're both true, and someone has to build like an integrated model. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, completely. I think both things can very much be true.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me, one of Sam's advice I've always really liked is basically like starting a company is like a ton of work. And so you might as well go for the moonshot one where like if you're successful, it's like truly like a life-changing transformative company rather than just like another app on your phone or whatever.
And so I imagine you feel that way about Nucleus.
Completely, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about then the chief of staff under Keith, because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions always about this, which is, okay, you go to, Opendoor. I'm always about to say OpenStore, Opendoor. I mean, you must have done this a lot. It's like
Great joke.
One of them. It's like I don't know which one. She went to Opendoor, and then you go to your chief of staff then, right? So Keith pulls you aside one day and says, "Look, you're a great engineering lead. I like this mobile app, but come with me to Founders Fund." Right? Or I guess he's working at both at the same time. He's a GP at Founders Fund. He says, come with me and let you be my chief of staff, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, you were Delian's successor. Where's Delian involved?
Yeah, I was. I mean, part of the timing of this was Delian was leaving as chief of staff to be like a full-time investor.
So did you live up to Delian's shoes? If you ask Keith that, what do you say?
Well, my shoes match the same colors, so. Which, if you don't know, Delian's shoes is usually one black, one white.
Okay, good. Okay, so then Keith pulls you in, and you're chief of staff now at Founders Fund. Walk me through like what is a day in the life like, right? I think so many people have a lot of questions about this. Tell me a bit more about this.
Yeah, the investing role and helping Keith is like a very interesting one. Like if you think about it, there's probably a few things. One, it's talking with new companies, and then two, also helping in portfolio companies. So first, just starting off, I shadowed Keith in all the meetings just to get up to speed on the investing side of things, and then started taking some of my own pitches. I was very actually interested at the time.
Give me an example of like what is a pitch that when you first joined Keith that you were like, wow, this is crazy. Like some founders pitch. Is there anything remarkable or memorable during that time? Any pitch, any founder you remember?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, like Rippling, I think is a great company.
Okay. So Parker Conrad came in and pitched you guys, or what?
Yeah, and we invested in Parker and Rippling, so that was a really good pitch. Trade Republic as well, which is in Germany.
How many pitches would you guys get in a year? How many would actually get funding?
First of all, because you can get like lots of emails, each part. One thing that's really unique about Founders Fund, each partner and principal does their own thing. So some may take a ton of pitches, some may not take that many. In terms of funding, we very much believed in just like only funding if there was like a reason to. Like there's no reason to deploy capital just for the sake of it. So if we think companies are overvalued, no reason to invest, and just really wait for like the best companies to come around. And part of that is like identifying like a thesis. So for example, I mean, I've always been interested in health and wellness. So I looked at a lot of companies in the CGM space, the continuous glucose monitoring, potentially like a lot of like non-invasive ones, which are really cool.
Okay, but no investment?
No investment, no.
So is there like, as you would get pitches, how fast would you know to invest in a founder? I mean, Keith is very strong on this, right? He always talks about how you have to spike in some axes, right? You meet someone, you get the spidey sense, you say, oh my God, I have to invest in this person. Is that kind of your model too? Is that how you think about this?
I think so, yeah. I'm very founder driven, similar to Keith. But there are a lot of different models that investors use. So one is founder driven. Do you believe in the founder? Another, especially for later stage, is more like financial driven, potentially market driven, technology driven. For example, like Coastal Ventures tends to like the technology side of things a lot, and like biotech, for example.
Who did you pass on at Founders Fund you shouldn't have?
Well, one funny story.
Come on, Matt, spill the tea. Let's go.
I mean, accidentally, I sent a pass email to a founder who then realized that a couple minutes later, we actually meant to give them an offer. So that was certainly awkward. But thankfully, Keith chimed in on the email.
He said, sorry, my chief of staff is an idiot.
Basically. But I think there's an important lesson there. Like, if you don't make mistakes occasionally, you're probably not pushing yourself to grow.
Yeah, and on that point, what's an example where you fell flat on your face? Is there any time that Keith was like, what the hell are you doing?
No, I mean, that's probably the craziest thing I did.
The craziest thing you did? But did they actually respond to your email? Were they like, oh, okay, like, thanks? Or no, they just ignored it?
Thankfully, Keith chimed in within a few minutes. So I think
Keith is on. I mean, Keith sees messages immediately.
Totally, which, yeah, I mean, really admire. Like, you email him, you text him, he responds within a minute or two.
Unbelievable.
Which I think is really underrated. Like, I think it truly is a signal for like who the best founders are.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm responsive.
Yeah,
probably addicted on my phone. I was telling Matt this. I put my phone in black and white now to try to stave my phone consumption. But I just can't help myself. I have also multiple different apps that are trying to like if you go on like Safari or something, it pops up and says like, hey, maybe you should take a deep breath or something. I'm like, I don't want to take a fucking. I want to send.
You need to meditate.
I know, right?
Time to meditate.
Yeah, it's time. And we were also talking about this yesterday in the context of counsel and lawyers and just different agencies. How at Nucleus we want people to respond really fast. So Matt was asking me like, what do you want in this? I think it was some agency we were talking about, and I said I want the person to respond really fast. And because that ultimately becomes a proxy for everything. Because if they respond really fast, inherently that's good, right? Inherently that means that information exchange happens faster, and if the information exchange happens faster, we can get done what we need to get done faster. And speed is king.
Completely agree. And like even with executives, if you think about the role of an executive, it's to unblock the team. And so as an executive, you want to respond as quickly as possible to your team so they can move on and build cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move beyond then, little chief of staff role now. You co-founded OpenStore. Maybe talk a little bit about the early days of OpenStore. And at this point, this is your first kind of time you founded a company, right? So you spoke to a lot of founders, you worked at, kind of tech giants, but now you're starting your own company. What are the key lessons, right? Do you think it was maybe easier for you to fundraise because you had an existing kind of network in Silicon Valley? How do you think about these kind of things?
Sure. Well, I mean, one of the key lessons is certainly around talent. Like I think one of the things I really admire about OpenStore is we were able to attract like really amazing talent, and it's like really cool. Like I can think of probably 5 or so people from the early team who've gone on to found companies, including Sam and Dar, who met at the company as both amazing engineers and started Delphi AI in San Francisco. So it's like, I think the talent density is the thing I'm most proud of and really love that. And like building in Miami, especially back in 2021 when we founded the company, Miami was the only place you could create a company in person because it's during COVID, obviously. So SF and New York were basically shut down. And I do believe that in person is like key to the success of any company. It helps you just move so much faster. You get the information exchange. So that's one of the things I learned from OpenStore.
Speaking of Miami, isn't that where we met?
It is.
Can you want to tell people how we met?
Sure. So we met at Hereticon, this amazing
This
conference.
is very a founder's fun story right here. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
everywhere. It's just like FF is everywhere, you know?
Totally. FF. I mean, FF was like driving the whole Miami train, and
What happened to that train, by the way? What's going on?
it's great. I mean, I do think obviously as things have opened back up, some people are moving back to New York and SF, but Miami's still vibrant and a great place to create companies. I think with Founders Fund though, Hereticon is this like amazing event of like heretical ideas, which I just love.
And this is the OG Hereticon, just so everyone knows, right? This is the one from, what year was it? 2021? 2020, early
2022, yeah.
Early 2022.
Like, yeah.
Early. It has to be really early. Because it was right after
your
FF
fundraise.
left. Yeah, right
Yeah.
after FF led Nucleus's round.
Yeah.
We actually meet at Hereticon. And we actually kick it off because we are very similar in regarding to our models on kind of meditation and spirituality and wellness, right?
Totally, yeah. I mean, remember just hearing your stories about how you're meditating for an hour or two a day and like going into these really deep spaces. And I was just fascinated. I was still, at the time, early into meditation, very into health, like exercise and such. But I've gotten more into meditation since.
So maybe in a way when we met in that, quote unquote conference, because calling Hereticon a
like an
conference
yeah.
is a bit of a stretch. But when we met at Hereticon, maybe in some way it was written in the stars for us to work together because, two people get together. I really feel like when we first met, there was some sort of, like, oh, I know this person. I've known this person for a while. It's like the soul in your last life, this life. Maybe we knew each other in the last life. What do you think?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably written by the stars. Like maybe we should do our astrology and see how they compare.
We should. Maybe I think we should employ a Nucleus astrology program. So everyone has to do astrology, and then we can use that to make decisions about the most important strategical questions. Right?
Yeah,
it's like what the kings used to do. They used to have the person that looked at the stars and say, okay, you should do this thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot written in the stars.
That's where all the alpha actually is.
We'll find out.
We're gonna find out.
Let's get our readings.
We are gonna find out. Okay, so we meet here, we kick it off, and, I don't think neither of us would have believed if they said, you're going to come work for Nucleus. Because, you were at OpenStore, I was doing my own thing. We were, basically in the bedroom still. I didn't even know, like, about how anything really worked,
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we met, we chatted for, like, a really long time at the conference. And we, like, obviously were messaging and stayed in touch afterwards. But, yeah, I never would have believed it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so... we kept in touch. You actually invested in Nucleus, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I think you're the first investor that invested and then joined Nucleus, right?
Yeah,
probably.
I think
I
so,
don't know anyone else has. That's talk about a positive signal. I was listening to the Technology Brothers podcast. Shout out to my man Coogan over there, and he was saying the strongest signal is when an investor who's an investor in the company actually then joins it. I think that's like probably really true. And I think also what's really interesting is. You and I, in a way, the way we kind of met, which is this concept of kind of spirituality and wellness, it's kind of inextricable to our mission at Nucleus now, right? Because we really just want to have people live like longer and healthier lives. So I want to move now into kind of Nucleus, which is what is the moment, or kind of let's talk about you getting recruited. What is it like from your experience, right? I'm thinking I need some sort of number 2 at Nucleus. I need it real badly. What happens from here?
Yeah, well...
I showed up to your home, I banged down on the door, right? I held a gun to your head to say, you better fucking join the company. Is that what happened?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less, right? Exactly.
I mean, you drive, yeah. But I mean, it's great. I mean, I've been following Nucleus and been like so impressed, obviously as an investor and you, just like seeing your raw passion for the mission, the pace of execution, which I think is one of the biggest predictors of a startup success. Those were like a lot of what drew me to it. I mean, working with Keith at Founders Fund, he's like, I think one of the best at like reading talent. And so I definitely learned from him on that. Yeah, I think you've done an amazing job and building an amazing company.
Well, thank you.
And I think the rest of the team is amazing too. Like having, before joining, like met with some of the team, like really impressed with everyone on the team and just excited to ship.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, people obviously always associate the founder with the company, but the founder is one of many people that make a company work, right? Nucleus has such exceptional kind of talent density right now across the board. And I think Delian actually tried this for a while. I think he actually had a podcast about like not the founder, but it was like
operators.
Remember, yeah, operators. It was like the kind of maybe the number 2, number 3, number 4 that actually made the kind of company go really round, but then kind of get a bit overshadowed. I actually think one of the most interesting things about kind of startup investing is that when people talk about the founder being exceptional, implicitly they're basically assuming, which is a good assumption, that exceptional talent drive other exceptional talent. Because obviously, if there's ever a world where there's an exceptional founder and bad team, that's never going to work, obviously. But implicitly, when you choose for a selected exceptional founder, you're also choosing for them to build an exceptional team, because it's almost like talent can recognize talent. There's something innate about it. To be clear, it is a skill, and sometimes you do make mistakes naturally, but you can kind of get really good really fast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sometimes people think that the founders should be like the best at everything, but the reality is like the founder's not going to be the best like designer and engineer and marketer and comms. Like you ultimately, the job of the founder is to find like those best people and then hire them, build the team, think about the strategy and long-term vision, like really do a lot of like the company building and the vision building.
And so you're, in Miami, you get this text to me. It says, Matt, join Nucleus. Okay, right? This you can attest to this.
Yeah.
Right? You guys said, Matt, join Nucleus. I mean, it's not even a question. You have to.
It's like, just
it's inevitability. We put it into the universe. The universe is going to respond. So I said, Matt, join Nucleus. He said, oh, okay, let's get on the phone. And then I get on the phone. He said, Kian, please let me join. I beg you. Right?
Something like that. That's not exactly how I remember it going.
Right?
I don't think that's how the stars said it aligned.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, I looked at the astrology sign.
Maybe that's your lucid dream?
Actually, I swear, I was like, okay, is Matt going to join? I actually was talking to our director of marketing communication about this. Hallie, I was telling Hallie, I said, she's like, do you think Matt's going to join? I said, yeah, of course. She said, why do you say that? I was like, I just know. I don't need to.
Did you get a tarot reading, or how did you find that out?
Maybe let's just say I was like someone's Christmas party and there was a tarot card reader there. And I asked the tarot card reader what's going to happen, and they gave me some very sage advice.
Matt's going to join. What were the other two?
We can't share those publicly, unfortunately. So you get this text, you're on the phone, you actually come to New York, you're actually really smart, the old kind of Keithism, the old Keith trick, which is like, hey, let's actually go in person to invest, right? Kind of that idea, which is like you really can't get the vibe on the Zoom, which by the way, actually Nucleus is a notable exception to that rule. Delian told me that usually they almost always will invest in person. But Nucleus at the time was a pure, just raw, couple of Zoom calls, and that was that. And then,
well, you have such strong vibes that they just transmit over Zoom as well.
I think it was the astrologist. That's probably what it was. It was in the stars. Okay, so then you come to Nucleus. What's it like talking to the team? How do you feel? Like, you're kind of on Broadway now. You're not Miami. What's the vibe?
Yeah, literally Broadway.
Broadway, yeah.
Well, I mean, just really impressed by the mission, impressed by the team, like the raw talent and excitement about everyone of the mission. The quality and craft of the product is so impressive. The pace of the execution. Just really excited about like what we've currently built and then what we can build in the future to help people. Everything from like the family planning, I think, is really exciting product.
Yeah. What was the moment that you're like, I have to join Nucleus?
I mean, it is a combination of the team and like seeing where the direction of the company was going, and then also what the company could become. So just like realizing like a little bit like the same thing I referenced earlier, but if the company is like successful, like what do you build? And realizing that like it would be like truly a
$1 trillion business.
Yeah, and transformative company, like really helping society and everyone take control of their own healthcare and improve their lives and their families' lives.
In a way, too, I feel as if you going from e-commerce to now health and wellness, and then the fact that Keith actually recruited you originally on this kind of health and wellness angle, and that's what you were trying to find, in a weird way, you found Nucleus, right?
Well, I think the stars are aligned. My path is always health and wellness.
Right? It was like this kind of technology meets healthcare. There's not that many startups like that. And I think you also like building in consumer, right? I think you kind of like that. I mean, Apple's a consumer company. Facebook's a consumer company. I don't know. Do you have...
I mean, they've all been consumer companies.
Yeah, actually, right.
Opendoor definitely was.
But OpenStore?
Well, it was interesting, like, because it was both consumer and B2B. Because we'd have consumers buy products from us, but we'd also buy businesses. But yeah, even though the business side was actually SMBs, and marketing to SMBs is similar to consumers. So yeah, I've always really enjoyed the consumer side, building like really delightful products.
Your job is president, so you're basically doing all things operations, you're doing product, you're going to help with financing, you're going to help with, all the kind of intangible stuff of building a business, tangible and intangible stuff building a business. What do you think is a change that you're going to make to help us operate better?
I mean, one thing I really believe in a company is just on blocking. It ties to the moving fast, but just really continuing to build a culture where like anytime there's a blocker, think about like how can we remove that blocker? How can we just move faster? Like the end goal should always be moving as fast as possible, which has a ton of benefits. Like for example, you learn faster, so you get faster feedback loops. It's really like it's not just linear; it's actually kind of exponential as you move faster.
100%. I mean, one of the first. So Matt and I had a meeting yesterday. Matt's been shadowing me actually, and he's been kind of gathering context on Nucleus and everything. And Matt and I had this exact conversation we're having right now on this podcast, which is speed is king. And if you look at Nucleus, the way we've been operating, really the fundamental job of Matt and I is to unblock our colleagues as fast as humanly possible. Because if we do that, we will win. It's that simple.
Totally.
Because no one was as fast. I mean, look at how many features that we've been shipping. We went from 10 diseases now over 800. Right? I mean, that's exceptional. I mean, you're talking about a platform that's growing exponentially, giving people more and more value every single day so they can live a longer, healthier life, not just themselves, but for their children. So I completely agree with you on that. And then on that point, scaling a company is no joke. You know that. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you and I are going to have to tackle?
Well, first of all, like the more successful the company, the more problems you have. It's actually kind of ironic.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the big roles as like a founder and executive is kind of like triaging between all the fires. Like any company always has things on fire. If you don't, you're probably not growing, or not moving fast enough, which isn't
True.
good. So really just like helping the team and internally kind of triage those fires, understand like, oh, this one's like slow burning, probably will be fine. This one, like, oh, that could like be a huge issue. And then like just balancing and juggling everything. Like there's always a tension between, let's say, like your product release cadence versus like hiring, even like moving offices. Like if you're going to be increasing the team size, just like trying to find the balance of all those so you can like move fast while balancing them.
Okay, so basically, if you're a founder and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, I have this huge problem," you're saying it's part of the course.
Totally, yeah.
As one of our investors likes to say, you signed up for it.
Exactly.
You're going to sign up to kick in the balls every single day. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you have high highs, low lows, but you kind of learn that there's just like a natural progression of up and down. And it's important to be like a steadying force too. Like,
are you studying force for Nucleus?
I hope so.
You hope so? What do you think the partnership between us is going to look like?
I think I'll be the steadying force to your chaos.
That's actually probably true, honestly. That's probably why we'll make such a good team.
Yeah. Totally.
Because you're lower IQ and lower schizophrenic.
Yeah, so it helps me be like smarter in the direction I go in.
No, it helps you communicate with people, because
you're just so smart. You can't communicate with people. That is a real challenge to have.
I'm just joking. Is there anything that you're like, oh my God, I look forward to like doing this every day with like Kian and the team? Like, is there anything like this is like something that like I just like can't wait for?
I mean, just like being in the office and riffing and just shipping fast is like so much fun.
It's so much fun, right?
Yeah.
It's honestly such a riot. Okay, well, Matt, wow, that was okay. It's good stuff. So I think we can end it on that. I'm excited.
Me too. Excited to build.
I'm fucking hyped up. My adrenaline is through the roof, and we actually have to hop soon because we're going on CNBC.
Totally. That's another day in the life.
Another day in the life. A day in the life. All right, guys. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Want to give a huge thanks to Matt for dropping all those tips and tricks about entrepreneurship, fundraising, his deep experience. Honestly, I thought we had a ride of a conversation today. I'm going to catch everyone next time on High Alchemy, and I think there's no one who exercises High Alchemy as ML.
Thank you, Chaos.
All right, guys. Peace, everyone. Bye-bye.